In today's video, I'm going to give you some fantastic basketball plays that you can run at the youth level. This is for players who are super young or in that middle school age. Let's get down and let's break these down. Okay, so in this first play, we're going to be running a 4-out. However, this is going to be a little bit different than your regular 4-out. Most 4-out offenses are going to be running similar to this, where you've got 4 players at the free throw line extended or higher. Well, we're going to be stretching this out, and there's a reason for that. Number one, it's a lot easier to teach players when they're way spread out, but also it's going to teach them to spread the floor. And this is our main key when we start running our offenses. We really don't want our players to be clumped together like this, saying, hey, pass the ball, pass the ball, pass the ball, because when there's players that close, it's very easy for them to get defended for one, but for two, this is just not a lot of fun for anybody. And of course, when they're all clumped together, they're really doing absolutely nothing anyways, and they're not learning. So we really want to have them have fun, but also learn how to play the game. So that is why we are running a simple 4-out. I call this a wide 4-out. So in this first play, what I like to do is just have it set up like a motion. And how I like to do this is by saying, whenever you make a pass, you're going to do something. You're either going to cut towards the rim, or you're going to be going and screening for somebody. We're going to have 5 spots on the court. Now, even though there's 5 spots, the 5 player, he gets to do a lot. And what I mean by that is he gets to think for himself. So what I mean by that is if he wants to go and set a screen for player 3, he needs to call out and say, hey, I'm screening for you, or have his hand up like if he's going to be calling for a screen. So for example, if you were a center, I would have you go like this to say, hey, I'm setting a screen for you, without actually vocalizing it, because now by doing this, you're telling that player, hey, I'm screening for you, and everything's going to be just fine. So when player 5 screens for player 3, we would have player 3 cut towards the rim. Now by having player 5 screen player 3, we now have player 3 cutting towards the rim. This may have been a great pass for a layup, but by having player 3 cut towards the rim, he is now in player 5's position. Player 5 is now taking player 3's spot. And if player 3 was able to be still covered, we would now have player 3 in the post, and now he can go and screen for somebody else. Let's say he wants to screen away for player 4. Well, player 4 can then cut towards the rim. If he's open, he could get that pass. Meanwhile, we don't want any of our players to be standing still. This is a total fluid offense. And what I mean by that is it's a read and react style offense. So now player 4 is in the post, player 3 is taking player 4's spot. Well, these players haven't been doing anything during this time. We want them to be doing something. So while all of this was happening down here, we also want to teach them to be screening and dribbling and passing to each other. So we would need to teach them how to do a dribble handoff. So let's say player 1 comes towards player 2, maybe to understand to say, hey, like we're running a DHO dribble handoff. We can teach our team, hey, DHO. That would mean that, hey, I'm setting a dribble handoff for you. Now, player 2 would use that dribble handoff. He could shoot a 3. Whatever's happening down here, he could hit up the open player. There's so many different options. Player 1 could have also screened for player 3 at the same time as player 4 setting a screen for player 5. Now this is operating 2 different parts of the play at the same time. Remember, we want our players to really think for themselves at the young age group, and we want to give them tools that will help them succeed without having them really be confined to a box. So to teach this play, this may seem very intimidating, but it's really not all that hard. You could get rid of, in practice, you could set up 3 different lines and say, hey, I want player 4 to screen for player 5. Player 5 is going to cut towards the rim. Player 2 is going to hit him up, and now we're going to swap out those 2 players. So let's say there's a line of players here, a line of players here. You scored, you go in the back of that line, next player in. And you could have a coach up top making the passes. You could have different coaches playing defense just to get used to, hey, how to set a screen on somebody. And then you can now expand it into that offense that I just showed you. And now in play 2 of this offense, we can now, after they learn how to basically read and react and see what they can do themselves, we can start giving them plays. So the first play that I would set up, which is super simple to run, is to have player 2 cut towards this post, have player 5 and 2 set up a wall or a double screen, have player 3 set a screen for player 1. Player 2 is going to be using that screen and teaching him that he could use either side of that screen. He could even run in between that screen. Meanwhile, player 1 is going to be using player 3 as a screen, which is now opening up opportunities for player 1 to score, player 4 to score, but also now, if the team is a bit older, we could now set up, notice how we're still in our 4 out, we could now set up a similar play. Maybe we can have, in now play number 3 that I'm going to show you, we could have player 3 screening away, setting that screen for player 2. We could have player 1 doing a dribble handoff with player 4. Player 2 using that using that screen popping up to the point. Player 4 using that dribble handoff, and player 1 rolling towards the basket now gives player 4 an opportunity for a layup, or with player 1 an assist, a shot, or a pass to player 2 for a shot. So you can always keep on adding on to your plays. And that's what's so great with the 4 out. Especially with a 4 out read and react motion style type offense like this. You can give your players ideas of what they can do. Teach them how to do a dribble handoff. Teach them how to set a screen. Teach them how to run off ball and screen for somebody who doesn't even have the ball. Now they're learning how to do that stuff while still being a team looking to see who's open, looking to see how they can get themselves and teammates open, and this could be a very successful strategy for you to win more games, but also for your team to have more fun. Now, this next set of plays, the next 2 plays I'm going to show you, is a 5 out offense. If you want a complete 5 out offense tutorial, make sure to go check out the book in the description below called The Complete Guide to the 5 out Offense. It's something that I put together for coaches who would like to play the 5 out offense. I personally think the 5 out is one of the simplest offensive sets to run. Okay, so first off, yes, I do have the bigs up in the wings. That's totally okay. You can set this up a few different ways, but this is just how I like to set it up. Either way, there's going to be the basics of the 5 out, and at this point, it's still read and react, and I always like to have my players move and count in their head for 3 to 4 seconds and say, hey, I haven't moved for 3 or 4 seconds. I need to go do something. So first off, the basics of the 5 out is player 1 can pass to player 4 as an example, and he's got 3 options. He can screen for player 4, he can cut towards the rim as a give and go type style of pass, or he can screen away for player 5. Now, in the more advanced, maybe in grade 8, you could say, well, forget about screening for player 5. You could go and screen for player 2 or for player 3 as well. So that is kind of the next level up from the basics of just really interacting with the players next to you. But from there, let's say player 1 sets that screen. Player 4 can use that screen. Player 1 would roll towards the basket. Player 4 could shoot or pass to player 1. The other option for player 1 is to cut towards the rim. If player 1 cuts towards the rim, that could be a pass to player 1 for the layup. Player 5 would fill player 1's spot, and player 2 would fill player 5's spot. Player 1 would then move out to fill player 2's spot. That way we are still in the 5 out. Meanwhile, if player 1 was to screen for player 5, then player 5 would go to the point. Player 1 would roll towards the basket. That would be 2 options for player 4. But also, what we could have is now player 2 going up towards the free throw line and player 1 filling out. Or instead, we could have player 1. Now this is the next level. We can have player 1 set that screen, back screen for player 2. Player 2 could cut towards the basket. And now, player 2 could pass or screen for player 3 if he wasn't open. And player 3 could then cut across. If he's open, definitely hit him up with a pass. If not, then he cuts out. And at this point, we are still in our 5 out. We really want our players to think for themselves and to really figure out what is best to run against whatever defense they're going up against. Now, because a 2-3 zone defense is so popular at the youth level, I thought I'd give you a 5-out set that would work against a 2-3 zone. So in a 2-3 zone, your defense is most likely going to be looking like this. And what I would like to have done is for player 5 to go and set a screen for player 1. Player 1 is going to use that screen. Now, remember how we were always initiating the pass first in the first 5-out I was explaining? Well, now this is the screener initiating the offense, setting that screen and rolling towards the basket. Why is this important for us? Well, we want to try and get that ball into player 5, which is going to be collapsing that defense, so that now player 5 could kick the ball out for a 3, or have player 2 cutting what I call the Russian spot, which is below the net or behind the net, which raises up the defense to guard player 5. He can pass down to player 2 for a layup, or he could kick out for a 3. Now, meanwhile, player 2 gets it, he needs to go up for that shot. Player 5 could also be going up for that shot if we kick the ball out and player 4 was covered right away. Well, now we can have player 2 fill out. Player 5 would be able to fill out. Player 3 moves up, player 2 goes over, and we are still in our 5-out offense, and we can run another set or continue running a motion. Now make sure to go and check out the complete guide to the 5-out offense down in the description below. I hope that it helps you, and I hope that this video helps you win more games, but also teach the love of the sport. I'll see you guys again next time.